And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 39 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes.
We also want to remind you that you can pick up our book, Kids Deserve It, officially up on Amazon right now. And if you're really excited about it, get it coming in the mail and you can't wait, remember that after purchasing the paperback, the Kindle version goes down to $2.99, so you can pick that up while you wait as well.
Also, don't forget to join our Kids Deserve It chat on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. PST, and check out Todd's Periscope right before the chats at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This week, we got another great guest, but first, we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam Welcome, Director of Innovation and Technology in the Bay Area of California.
I'm Todd Nesloni, Elementary School Principal in Navasota, Texas. And our guest this week is Matt De La Pena. Matt?
Hey, how are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
We want to also remind our viewers to participate in social media. We thank everybody who shares out all their learning using the hashtag KidsDeserveIt because we love hearing and seeing what is sticking out to you.
So, Matt, we have a few questions for you. So, for those who don't know about you, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm an author who lives in Brooklyn, New York. I write young adult novels and picture books, and first book came out in 2005, so it's pretty crazy that I've been writing over a decade now, and I have 10 books.
Wow. That's awesome. So we want to jump right into this Newbery Award that you just got for Last Stop on Market Street. Can you tell us a little bit about the whole Newbery experience?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. It's like they call you at 3:30 in the morning, and it's like this big secretive thing, and they catch you off guard. And yeah, it's for me, it was something I never had expected because, I write young adult and picture books, and for the most part, the Newbery, you think middle grade. So it was nothing that was ever on my radar. I thought maybe the book had a chance at some sort of a Caldecott recognition, but then when the guy said Newbery, I was just completely shocked. I thought he actually said the wrong committee name first, but then he kept saying the word Newbery, and it was kind of overwhelming. And then you aren't supposed to tell anybody except for like your wife and your agent. So, nobody really knew. Nobody really knew until it was announced nationally.
Wow.
So what was the event like that you got to attend? Is it like a real an awards event kind of thing where you go up there and you're dressed real fancy and?
Oh yeah, it's like you get dressed up. I had to go to a clothing store and get like a coat with a collar. My wife helped me pick it out, and yeah, it's pretty formal. It's like 1,000 people are there, and everybody's dressed up. It's very nerve-wracking. You don't want to mess that up. So I think I've been on the road a lot, doing a lot of speaking engagements over the past 6 years. But this one, I was scared to death. So I was happy when it was over, and I don't think I did anything too bad.
Did they really call you at 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah, I swear, 3:30 in the morning. I was in Minneapolis, so it was even earlier because they were in Boston.
Oh my gosh.
And I think I had gone to sleep at about 2 in the morning because I had to finish a book. So it was kind of shocking to hear the phone ring an hour later.
Yeah.
I was also there with I was in Minneapolis teaching at a place called Hamlin University. It's a low residency program for writing for children. And I was there with Laura Ruby, who the day before found out she had won the Prince, which is the best book of the year for a young adult.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy that we're with each other.
Yeah.
It's a great way to celebrate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the next day there was tequila involved.
Yeah. So Matt, talk to us about Last Stop on the Street. How did that book come to be?
That book, it was kind of a strange beginning. So there were a few things I was thinking about in terms of writing a young adult novel. One of the biggest things is, I visit schools all over the country, and sometimes when I go to the more, underprivileged schools, you meet these kids, and you can kind of tell that they don't feel like they deserve anything. They don't like, why did this author come here? And you feel like you could just feel the way they've been labeled in the media, and it sort of integrates into themselves. So I thought, I want to write a book about feeling worthy, even if your neighborhood isn't beautiful. And so then I kind of came up with this grandmother character who became the voice of what you have, the voice of the positive spin on the world. And so that's kind of where it started from. And then I saw an illustration by Christian Robinson. It was just a random illustration with him with his grandmother on the bus. And so I just kind of put those things together. And, you know, that's where the book came from. And for me, I grew up writing spoken word poetry. So when I wrote the first draft of Last Stop, I mean, it was just a spoken word poem. And that's kind of the way I approach all picture books. And then Christian takes it and makes it bigger and better. That's the way I look at picture books.
Nice.
I love that. Well, Matt, I just finished reading your book, Mexican White Boy, while I was here relaxing. And I have to tell you, I absolutely loved this book. It ripped my heart apart, but it was such a great story. I like that. I mean, I felt at times like I was reading an autobiography of someone, because it was just that real from this kid's perspective. And, you know, but coming from a broken home too, I found the part near the end where, and this, I'm not going to be giving anything away or anything for those of you who are like, don't say anything about the book, but where Sophia, after finding something out about Danny, was talking to him about his dad and kept saying, you didn't do nothing wrong, you didn't do nothing wrong, over and over again. And he keeps saying, I know, I know. And then finally through the conversation he says, I must have. And it was just one of those really powerful moments for me. Where do those kind of stories come from you?
Well, that book is very, very personal because it takes place in my own hometown. It deals with being biracial, which I am. So this is the story of where I grew up. It's an older story, so it came out in 2008, but I probably started writing it in 2002. I was writing short stories with this kind of like mixed race character in mind. I wanted to explore, like, what does it mean to be sort of not Mexican enough to be hanging out with the Mexican kids, but not white enough to be among the white kids. So that was the main thing I wanted to explore. But ultimately, I wanted to kind of like dive deep into this idea of, do some of us feel guilty for succeeding when we come from tough neighborhoods? So that was the biggest thing I wanted to explore. Like, he's a really smart kid. He's going to go to college. Nobody in his family goes to college. And it's like, what does that do to you inside? Hispanic kids have the highest dropout rate in college. And what is that? Is it maybe because there's a guilt factor? Like, back home real life is happening and I'm off having fun at college and, you know, reading and listening to lectures, but I'm not doing anything with my hands like my dad. So those are the things I really wanted to explore in that book. And it is, to be honest with you, very personal.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, Matt, speaking of school, what was school like for you growing up?
I went to school in two different areas. I grew up in National City where Mexican White Boy takes place, but then I went to middle school and high school in a little bit more of a mixed environment. It was, National City is like 100% Mexican. Where I went to middle school and high school was kind of half and half. So I remember when I went to high school, I met kids who had parents who had gone to college for the first time. I'd never met people like that. So I think that really opened my eyes, and I started to think it was a possibility. I had to figure out how I was going to do it because nobody in my family had done that. But I think the high school I went to was just a really great, supportive high school, really good people and good teachers. So even though I started off in school, I was struggling a little bit in a different environment. When I went to high school, I had a good support system.
Nice.
So, Matt, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to teachers? Because a lot of our audience is educators.
I think the biggest thing is this. There are a lot of people like me who give off the vibe that they're not listening and they're not paying attention. But I think there's this thing I call it pedagogical humility. And it's that some of the things that you do as a teacher, some of the best moves you make, it's not going to pay off until long after that kid is out of your life. So you may not even get to see the payoff. So I just wanted to, I would just really advise teachers, those kids hood up back of the classroom, not paying attention, they're paying attention more than you think they are. So I think if you can be humble in front of them, and even though it appears they're not receptive, it's getting in there a little bit. You just may not see the payoff.
Nice. So Matt, we all have tough days. What do you do when there's those tough days and you can't get out of bed and you got to kick your butt into gear? What do you do?
I mean, I just got to turn to drugs and alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. I would say pretty much, you know, I love to play basketball, so I get physical, do something physical.
Nice.
Even just walking, because I'm getting old now, so I'll just walk the park near my house. And, you know, when I'm struggling with my own work, I like seek answers in other people's art. So I'll read other people's books, I'll listen to music, I'll watch movies. There's so much I can pull from other people who are doing great work out there. It could be a picture book, and I'm writing a young adult novel, and I could see like a turn of a sentence, and it just makes me go, oh yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. There's one book, it's an adult novel. I've read this book probably about 12 times, and I actually read about a page before I start to write every single day. So that always kind of, it sets the bar for me. I think it's a guy who's operating on a different level, and it's just kind of fun to try to grasp to catch up to him.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So Matt, who is someone that inspires or challenges you to be better?
I mean, I think for me, a lot of it comes down to writers. You know, like I know I want to be as good of a writer as I can be. That's why I try to read people that I think are the best. Like I love to read Junot Diaz. I love to read Alice Walker, Toni Morrison. Cormac McCarthy's my favorite author.
Yeah, totally.
And when I read these people, it's like I know I can't get to where they are, but it kind of makes it. I love the feeling of trying to get there. So I'd say they're my biggest role models. And you know, now that I've been in and out of schools a lot, sometimes I'll meet teachers or librarians who are just truly in it for the right reasons, and that's kind of humbling too. It makes me want to be like that in my job too. I hate arrogant writers, people who just, they're in it for the hype or possibly the money, which would be crazy. But I love people who are in it for making a great sentence. And I love meeting educators who are in it for teaching a great lesson and not looking at too much of the big picture.
Right.
So, Matt, every week we like our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for the week?
All right, so here it is. I think sometimes adults, we fall into this kind of rut as readers. We become people who seek books that reinforce our own ideologies. So my challenge to the listeners is to read a book completely outside of your comfort zone, or even better, a book that is against your ideology. I think that would be my challenge.
Nice.
I love that. That's a great one. So, Matt, first of all, we just want to end with saying thank you so much for coming on Kids Deserve It today. We greatly appreciate it. Love your work. So super honored that you gave us some of your time today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
And we want to thank all of our viewers for watching the show. And remember to tweet us using the @KidsDeserveIt or the hashtag KidsDeserveIt. Join our Twitter chats on Wednesday, and make sure you check out our next guest, which is on a special date, a Saturday this upcoming week, and it is Katie Bisbee, the Chief Marketing Officer from Donors Choose. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thanks again, Matt.